Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
The time has come for America to hear the truth.
We are going to stand with them, and not only are we going to fight for their rights, but we're going to stand up for our rights here in our state, in our homes, and in our community.
One day longer, one day stronger. One day longer, one day stronger.
Because the future of labor's rights in the United States of America is not going to be decided in the courts. It's not going to be decided in Congress. It's not going to be decided on talk radio, and it sure is not going to be decided on Fox News.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
Good morning, Tennessee Valley. This is the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host and fellow agitator, David Story. It is Saturday, November 28th, 2020, and we are broadcasting live online and on the radio on WVNN in the Huntsville, Decatur, Athens listening area from Athens, Alabama. A recording of the program will play tomorrow, Sunday, November 29th, 2020, on the great WGOL in Russellville, Alabama. And today is Open Line Saturday, folks. We are running the whole show commercial-free, courtesy of the Alabama AFL-CIO, and we are taking your calls, your questions about unions. 1-866-494-9866 is the number. That is 1-866-494-WVNN. So give us a call, ask us anything. We are, that's the show today. We're taking your calls. Thanks for tuning in, folks. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week, get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That is spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and you want to go back and watch it later, you can search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we clip segments throughout the week and upload them. So constant stream of content.
And insanity.
Constant stream of content over there.
And we got a website.
We do have a website. We upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So to see if we are on your listening platform of choice, go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe or go to our website, thevalleylaborreport.org. Finally, if you appreciate our work and you want to help us stay on the air, consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report. That really helps us. The first 17 patrons that we had back in August, we ordered a bunch of hats. We're giving those out for free now. So if you were one of our first 17 patrons, if you were a patron to the show before August the 22nd, DM our page and give me your address, because I have your free Valley Labor Report hat. I just need your address to send it to you. We've also got stickers. We'll be sending those out for free as well. If you were not a patron of the show before August 22nd, again, DM the page and I will send you a form to fill out. We're going to be taking pre-orders for more hats. We're going to be ordering some more hats, and you'll get a free sticker with any hat that you buy. I think they're good. They're local union-made hats right here in Alabama by a union print shop. They're good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. You gotta get it. It's a good hat.
And maybe we've got some maybe we got some shirts coming online as well.
Potentially.
Hey, you want to jump to a call right off the bat?
We got a call right off the bat. All right.
Jason on the line. Good morning, Jason. How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, I have just a question. When it comes to unions, a lot of them are just craft unions, and I see that as a problem because if you divide the unions up into different crafts instead of letting them work as like one big industrial union, it seems like you're dividing up your power. Um, why is that?
There's a long history and trade. What you're calling craft unions, what I call trade unions, and then industrial unions. It goes back to the late 1800s, early 1900s with the AFL and the CIO and Gompers. And I won't go into a whole bunch of labor history, but early on in the labor movement, the trade unions or craft unions was put in place mainly for bargaining rights, but also a lot to protect those workers in those trades. They wanted, and the ugly part of it is in a lot of cases early in the 1900s they didn't include a lot of the immigrants. They didn't include a lot of or any of the minorities. It was pretty much just white men. They didn't include females. But it was a way to protect their trade. And
They wanted to
kind of grown out of that.
Yeah, they wanted to kind of in the beginning they wanted to kind of keep some of these trades skilled. They wanted it to be considered skilled. And so if you let and so in a sense, even some of these unions in their beginning, they didn't even so much work as advocates of the working class. They worked as kind of gatekeepers in their trades, and so obviously these unions, even the ones that go by the same names as those that started that way, they don't operate that way anymore.
But one thing to keep in mind is, in the push towards syndicalism, or especially in my case, what I'm always advocating for is worker empowerment and workers owning the means of their production. Those trade unions still can play a tremendous role in taking over a lot of that hierarchical company-owned type mentality. They still own. They do a lot. They go a long ways in owning what they produce. So, and also to your point, as far as you think it's divided, and in a way it kind of is divided, but that's where the AFL-CIO comes in and puts a broader umbrella, with like IBW 558 or like the iron workers that support us monthly. They're coming out and helping us, as far as supporting the show, but on a broader labor movement aspect, they're supporting the machinists. They're supporting AFGE. We're having a call with IATSE and one of the local politicians, the city councilman, coming up, and they'll be involved in that. So
yeah, you can kind of ameliorate some of the issues that you would have by, like you said, dividing workers into their trades or whatever, instead of organizing industrially. You can kind of ameliorate some of those concerns by, being good participants in the labor movement locally. And you don't even have to be a member. You don't even have to be affiliated with the AFL-CIO to do a good job of that. Yeah. David, you mentioned yesterday or Thursday it was that the Teamsters Local 402 is who represents UPS drivers here in North Alabama, and they refused to cross your picket line in 2018 when the machinists went on strike at ULA. And so, see, that they're not even in the same industry, but they are,
they're supporters of the labor
there's good
movement.
Solidarity there. And so, it doesn't even necessarily, I think organizing industrially has more advantages than organizing by trade. But even organizing by trade, it doesn't necessarily hurt you that bad as long as you've got like good folks there, good people that are that have that ethic of solidarity.
And you see, like, for example, IBW, even though they're considered a craft or trade union, they go out and organize industrial as well. There's several people on the arsenal that are contracted or that are represented by IBEW that are not necessarily electricians. I know one of the groups is a female group of I think some clerical or office type workers. So, have you got any other questions, Jason, or was?
Yes.
Sure.
I am a member of the National Letter Carriers Association.
Yeah.
And I called in last week about the worker co-ops because I've been thinking more about worker ownership, and the crazy idea that I've had just working at the post office is I see our unions are divided up between the American Postal Workers Union, the National Association of Letter Carriers, the National Postal Mail Handlers.
There's a
And I think that
rural
is
carriers.
like my crazy idea would be. Sorry.
There's rural carriers as well. There's a
Oh yes, there's rural carriers as well. Then I would like to see all those unions combine into one, and then, when they talk about selling the post office, sell it to the union.
Yeah.
Is that even something
Yeah.
possible?
well, I mean, theoretically, I guess that would be something. But there even some of these unions, even as divided as the postal worker unions are, they're still conglomerations of, like the APWU. I think is a formation of 2 or 3 unions that had existed prior.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing goes with the letter carriers as well. So, that is the trend, is the merger of existing unions into bigger unions. I think it would be good.
It streamlines a lot of the administration processes and cuts costs for everybody across the board.
Yep.
The machinists took in NEFI, the National Federation of Federal Employees, a few years ago to help them out. But your point, to your point about purchasing, the means of production, I think that's brilliant, and I think that's something that all workers need to be considering moving forward. Just last week, Jacob and I was talking about a cooperative restaurant, starting a cooperative restaurant in the area to where all the workers are share ownership, and I think that's something everybody needs to be considering. It's the only way we're ever going to make any gains, because I recognize, as far as union workers go, you probably make pretty good money as a letter carrier, but you're very limited in what say you have on the job, as we are as well. To an extent. That you're simply one worker and not a co-owner of that. So I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think we both we're both very much in favor. And if you didn't hear it on the show, we did answer that show. It got later in the show that we answered it, but we did answer that. And if you didn't catch that, you can go back and see that on the YouTube. But I think that worker ownership is very good. I think it's very important, and to those could be some conversations that you start having in your union, potentially. And as we let you go, make sure that your folks in the letter carriers union, make sure they know that the the next labor council meeting is going to be on the 7th. We've been talking to your president and your political coordinator, and they have been wanting to. They've been looking towards affiliation with the labor council locally, so make sure you push them on that.
Oh, that's great.
All right, Jason, thanks for the call. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Right.
We got Justin on the line. Apparently, he was asked to call. Do you know anything about Justin calling in for some type of interview?
We had there was a couple folks that were wanting to call in, but I can't remember the name. Justin.
Well, he's on the line now. Justin, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, and for clarification, my name is Swift Justice.
Swift Justice. Yeah, okay, very good.
I was having a difficult time hearing with the noise in the background.
Yeah, so to hear her, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her name, but she had sent me a press release from the Free Alabama movement about prison strike in Alabama, and so I asked her. I was like, "Hey, we've got an open line Saturday. If you wanna have somebody call in, then tell them to call in, and we can let you talk about it." So tell us what just tell us what that press release said, basically, and what's going on.
Basically, the press release is dealing with all the corruption and the incidences and the issues that's been uncovered with the Department of Justice over the past few years, man. It's something that we've been working on for quite a few years, but even before the Department of Justice took their investigation on, dealing with the overcrowdingness, dealing with officer on inmate violence and inmate on inmate violence and the drug epidemic inside the prison system. The Free Alabama movement, along with quite a few other organizations across the United States, man, we've been working to actually push what I would call real rehabilitation outside of what others, outside organizers are calling reform. But we're wanting real change, man. And the only way that that's going to happen is for people in Alabama to actually see and take note of what's truly taking place inside of these prisons and actually, pay attention to what's going on. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to be doing an economical boycott on January 1st through January the 31st here in Alabama Department of Corrections once again.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that it was something that hadn't started yet. So then January 1st, some of the prison laborers in the Alabama prison system are going to be going on strike, and they're asking for people not to purchase goods or services that are made with Alabama prison labor. Which would be a good thing not to do anyway, just generally, I think, probably. But so tell us, you said there have been some things that have been uncovered by the Department of Justice, and I think there is because the prison system in Alabama is so opaque, most of us, including myself, really just have no idea what is going on there. Elaborate a little bit. What were the problems that were uncovered by the Department of Justice? What are the conditions that workers in the Alabama prison system are facing?
What people are missing about what's taking place on the inside of these prisons, man, and I'm glad you brought that up because this is a world within a world, man, and it's just so easy to cover up the issues that's taking place and to discredit those who are making these claims, which are the ones that are behind these walls. Mm-hmm. Well, the Department of Justice and through their investigation, they've uncovered quite a few things, man. One of those main issues that's really troublesome to me is the denial of mental health issues. Yeah. You have inside of the Department of Corrections now a overload of mental health patients because of the shutdowns of your mental hospitals throughout the state. They have nowhere to put them, so now they're just putting them inside the prisons. And you got to look at why they're doing that, and the actual gain that the state is actually making off of that through grants and through other means of economical gain. So, and the money's not going towards these things, man. And you take outside of the mental health issues, you're talking about the conditions of the prisons, the sanitation. Here you got inmates who make these chemicals and make everything that goes on with the sanitation, and we don't even see that. So it's being economical gain somewhere else, and nobody's knowing where this money's going. Nobody's knowing where the chemicals are going. You take, for instance, the coronavirus epidemic. We're 8 months deep into this, and here we are. We make our own chemicals, but yet we're getting less and less chemicals inside these prisons to actually help sanitize the prisons and keep us from catching them. Catching this coronavirus. So and then you got the violence issue, man. Alabama's been on the radar through the nation for being the most violent prisons in the United States of America. And you got to look at how problematic that sounds when we are on one of the smallest prison systems in America to have that kind of violence here in a institutional setting.
And I'm sure a lot of that.
These are the things.
Go ahead. My apologies.
These are the things that have been covered up for years, man. And even through the Department of Justice investigation, the Department of Justice found where ADOC was covering up certain aspects of violence, whether it was on the correctional officer on inmates or whether it was on inmate, and they were calling these individuals dying or being killed from natural causes. So, that's a big issue. And how do you uncover that if the trusted people inside of these positions that you've been appointed by, whether it be the governor or whether it be your elected officials, are covering these things up?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you mentioned the coronavirus, and I don't know exactly how widespread it's been in the Alabama prison systems, but I know that in the Texas county jails, 80% of of inmates who died from the coronavirus were not convicted of any crimes. They were being held
waiting.
pre-trial, and 80% of the people who died of the coronavirus in Texas county jails were innocent. Literally, they were supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but they got the death sentence before they could even be tried. I mean, it's sickening, and no doubt it's extremely bad in the Alabama prison system. How much do prison workers make in Alabama?
I mean, it's literally nothing. I mean, at the most, they may make anywhere between $40 to $45 a month.
A month
for like a normal work week. They work 40 hours a week.
Correct. And wow. What you really don't look at on that aspect is, let's just say that, okay, there's people who agree with individuals making this kind of money. It's a minimum, it's $40 a month. But where is that money going back to? Mm-hmm. That money is going back to the Alabama Department of Corrections and to their canteens and their stores. Yeah. So, and these prices that are on these canteens and stores are marked up 200% to 300%. So these guys are walking away from these store windows with, I don't know, maybe 30, 40, 50 items of food.
Mm-hmm. It's basically exploitation at its finest. Has anybody?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Has anybody talked about IWalk in that area and organizing with IWW? I know me and Jacob both are Wobblies, and there is a program through the International Workers of the World that helps prisoners inside organize themselves collectively, and also provides a lot of material on organizing, for better conditions. I don't know if that's something y'all have heard about.
Yeah, IWalk is a organization that has been there with us since the beginning.
Okay.
Man, and we got a lot of love for this organization. We actually have a chapter of IWalk in Birmingham now. So, awesome. That is something that we are, we're actually glad to have IWalk here in Alabama. And, not just IWalk, man. We got Huntsville area, man. Huntsville area is really stepping up, man. We Tahira and my brother Garrett, who is doing these protests and stuff, dealing with Walmart
the bail funds and stuff, yeah.
Right, correct, man. That is inspiring, and we are glad to see the public, even though it's a small portion of people and younger people who are stepping up. We're glad to see some people here in Alabama start to get the spirit and move for us and speaking out for us, because when you get done and said with it, our voices can only be heard through other people unless, situations like where I'm able to call in and talk about it for ourselves.
Yeah, brother. Well, I was talking to Tahira, and I was asking her how much buy-in that this is going to have from prisoners here in Alabama, and she said that she's expecting it to have a pretty good buy-in, and she said that in 2019 in the prison strike in Alabama, it actually shut down multiple facilities, and y'all were able to get correctional officers to go on strike with you.
And that's very true. We have no expectation on how big it might be. We call for it. We do what we do. We do not force people to do anything. It's just how much do these people on the inside want what we are asking for as far as in our demands, and how much collaboration we can get with these individuals on the inside. It's a very hard thing to actually organize on the inside, especially on a peaceful aspect. That is our motto. We want the world to know that, look, we're not the animals that the media and the politicians have made us out to be. We are men, and we are coming at you on a peaceful approach. We do not want to see 1971 Attica uprising here in Alabama, but unfortunately, that's what we on the inside see happening.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want to be treated with respect and dignity. Yeah. I mean, if you're doing your part, you're doing what you've been asked to do, then, a little respect and dignity goes a long way, self-respect. I think it's important because this is the first time I've heard about it. But what exactly can the people in the community do? You know, you're calling for a strike. I think it would be important to know what products we're striking against. So can you go into detail on that some and let everybody know what we're looking at?
Of course, man. Right now, of course, the inmate labor is used on a variety of levels. But right now, what we're calling for on the inside of here in Alabama is a labor strike and a boycott. Not a labor strike, but yes, a labor strike, but a boycott on the store items that is being sold on the canteens, as well as Union Supply. Union Supply supplies the shoes that we buy, Access Direct. All these JPay, all these companies that actually get money from us to actually help incarcerate us, we want them to boycott that. You got to look at Securus. Securus has moved into Alabama, and Securus is the technology group that is controlling the phones and now supposedly bringing in video chats to actually eliminate visitation, contact visitation from these guys. And I think the public and these individuals on the inside do not see the bigger picture about Securus. Securus is one of the only telephone groups that work with these prisons that actually requires them to remove the contact visits from the institutions. So you got to look at how detrimental that's not only going to be for the inside individuals, but the outside individuals as well. And when I look at it, I'm looking at it from my children's standpoint. I will not be able to touch my children ever again if they are successful in bringing these video chats in and not allowing us contact visits. And the rehabilitation aspect for the guys on the inside to be able to actually hold on to the visitation and be able to touch their loved one, touch their child, and hopefully, while they're on these visitation yards, redirect these children who have a 7 out of 10 chances of following into their footsteps into a different direction.
Right.
Those are the big things that we're looking at. We want to see the school-to-prison pipeline staunch. We want to see the recidivism rate staunch. We want these things stopped.
Yeah, well, brother, I think you're doing really good work. We're coming up on the break for the top of the hour news right now. Tell folks where they can find out more about what y'all are doing.
Man, they can tune in to different aspects. They can go on Google and look up the Free Alabama Movement. We are in the process of having outside organizers bring up a website to make it a whole lot easier. But they can go on WordPress. They can actually look up in Google. They can find many aspects of Free World Organizers working on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
So just Google Free Alabama Movement, and it'll pop up on Google.
Okay.
I wish I had more information for people to be able to find it easier, but I apologize for that.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for the call. Folks, look up the Free Alabama Movement. Swift, thank you for calling in. You have a good one, brother. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to have some more calls on the other side of this break. This is the Valley Labor Report.
Huntsville's #1 news, talk, and weather station. WVNN Athens. WVNN FM Trinity. A Cumulus station. It's 10 o'clock.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Coronavirus numbers surged on Friday.
The U.S. surpassing 13 million confirmed coronavirus cases, with 1.1 million of those added in just the past 7 days, according to the COVID tracking project. That means every single minute, 114 Americans now testing positive for the virus.
ABC's Christine Sloan, New York, reporting over 8,100 new COVID-19 cases on Thanksgiving, the highest daily count since last April. And in California,
Los Angeles officials issuing a stay-at-home order starting Monday, banning all public and private gatherings with people outside of your own household, except for church services and protests. The new restrictions coming days after the county banned outdoor dining at restaurants. New infections rising nearly 20% out west in the last week. 4 states, including California, hitting record highs.
ABC's Gio Benitez. Protests on the streets of Tehran following the killing of Iran's top nuclear physicist. To London and ABC's Julie McFarland.
Mohsen Farizadeh, he was the driving force behind Iran's atomic weapons program, the country's most renowned nuclear scientist, as well as a senior officer in that elite force known as the IRGC. In 2018, he was even named by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a presentation about Iran's nuclear program. And 10 years ago, the Iranian government said that Israel was behind the assassination of 4 other of their nuclear scientists who were killed between 2010 and 2012. Now, Israel has never publicly confirmed or denied involvement in these assassinations, but has always said that they will never tolerate a nuclear Iran.
At St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, Pope Francis at a ceremony that elevates 13 bishops to the College of Cardinals today. Among them, the first Black American, Washington Archbishop Wilton Daniel Gregory, and for the first time, some of those cardinals chosen by Pope Francis participating remotely. You're listening to ABC News.
When you surf the web, there's lots to be wary of. Hackers, advertisers, predators. They love lurking through your data.
Lucky me, I found unprotected users. Let's see what I can steal. Thanks for your banking information, Mary. Mark, thank you for all your passwords, and especially those personal photos. Oh no, what happened? I can't see anything. They must be using IP Vanish.
Protect your privacy and keep online threats at bay with the privacy and protection provided by IP Vanish. IP Vanish utilizes military-grade encryption and works worldwide using over 1,500 servers in 70 locations. IP Vanish is easy to set up, offers 24/7 live phone support, and is rated 4.7 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot. For a limited time, secure unmetered devices on one account and save 73% off an annual subscription. Go to ipvanish.com/privacy. ipvanish.com/privacy today.
Stay informed and entertained all day long. Only on WVNN.
Let's go! All right, folks, welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host, David Story. Today is the last Saturday of the month, which means it is Open Line Saturday. We're taking calls all day. 1-866-494-9866 is the number. We're coming to you commercial-free, courtesy of the Alabama AFL-CIO. On the line, we've got George Hamilton called in. George is the president of the International Federation of Professional and Technical Employees, of Professional and Technical Engineers at NASA. So, George, I appreciate you taking the time to call in. Thank you so much.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Morning. So, George, you may not know this, but last week we talked to a sister from the same international as you. We talked to Kayla Blado. She's the president of the nonprofit Professional Employees Union, and so we talked some about white-collar unionism, why unions aren't just for blue-collar folks, and I wanted to get a kind of Alabama perspective on the same topic. I thought that would be good. I thought it'd be good for our listeners. We got a bunch of folks on the Arsenal that listen to the show. So George, you're the president of the Engineers Union at NASA. Tell us a little bit about what you do, like professionally. What's your job over at NASA?
So human factors engineering is what I came in the door for.
All right.
A long time ago. Think space ergonomics.
All right. I don't know much what that means.
You threw us for a curve on that one. We're both going, it sounds like an engineering job.
How about fitting jobs to people? How about that?
Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, and so So you're the president of the Engineers Union at NASA, and something that I'm in another federal employee union. I'm in AFGE, and so you and I are federal employees, and one of the things that I get all the time, and we're white collar workers. Both of us have college degrees, yes. And I get all the time. Well, why do you need a union? Why do you need a union, George?
So I would offer several things. We represent folks who are in trouble. That doesn't happen real often, but we can advise an employee on a response to a disciplinary action. and sometimes we get that reduced. I would also note that we have the opportunity to help shape policy, and we often hear what's going on before it goes down. And there are times when we get a heads up that our local HR folks have not heard yet.
Right.
And a lot of and it also gives you a say in your work environment as well. You know, that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest benefits as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that you have that ability to push a more worker oriented workplace, a place that is more friendly to what your workers' needs are. You know, and I'm sure COVID brings up a very important aspect of that, and allowing people to work from home and things like that. You know, so I'm sure y'all have a big say in that as well.
Currently, about 90% of the civil service workforce is working from home, and that's been since March.
Which is a great thing, which, protects workers and allows them to continue earning a living and keeping their family safe.
And not to mention investing in the community, because we got to buy stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of?
If I could.
Oh no, go
if
ahead.
I could just launch into a few quick comments. So we're Local 27 at Marshall Space Flight Center. We represent the non-manager scientists and engineers. The bargaining unit is about 1,350 folks, and most of the rest of the civil service employees are represented by AFGE. We were chartered in the early 1970s after a botched reduction in force, or RIF. And as I mentioned, NASA has two unions representing civil service folks, IFPTE and AFGE. More than half of the NASA employees are represented by unions. IFPTE has about 80,000 members. We're small compared to AFGE at about 700,000. We are international, as we have some Canadian locals. We've got three sectors: federal, that's us; NASA, TVA, Corps of Engineers, Library of Congress; immigration judges; Navy, civilians at shipyards; and the General Services Administration. You've heard about them recently in the presidential transition.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the federal folks. The second sector is state and municipal workers, New Jersey Turnpike workers, for example. Our third section is commercial, and there Boeing is the biggest union in our commercial section. I would say that we have good relations with management. We get invited to some senior level meetings, and we also meet with HR twice a month and our center operations leadership monthly. Both groups will answer a phone call or an email. We do an annual legislative week in D.C., and that sometimes overlaps with our AFGE brothers and sisters. IFPTE has national consultation rights, so we review proposed policy, as does AFGE, and we work together with AFGE. Both groups are one local short for national bargaining rights. We are invited to new employee orientation and new supervisor orientation, and we get our 15 minutes of fame there. Why join? As I mentioned, opportunity to help shape policy, hear what's going on before it happens, and it's useful to have eyes and ears in the workforce. Many times, our members will bring up something that's going on, maybe that's a little out of sorts, and we wouldn't know about that unless we had eyes and ears out in the workforce.
Right.
You mentioned the RIF early on, and I'm real interested in that because I work at the Machinist Union over at United Launch Alliance, and we've tried unsuccessfully a couple of times to bring in our engineers, and they're unorganized. And something that we see consistently is the influx of young engineers such as Jacob, who are good workers, but we've lost so much tribal knowledge. We see the older engineers being forced out, and sometimes not even forced out, just completely let go to the company's detriment. But they see it as cost savings because they've got these young guns ready to come in and work for half of what everybody else is working for. So do y'all have the same protections as far as seniority goes? And that's something that I'm constantly preaching with the engineers, is building that seniority to where you get to determine when you want to leave work, not relying on the company to say when you're going to.
So far, we do have a seniority-based RIF system, and there are bump and recession rights. There have been proposals to change that. So far, those have not borne fruit.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, that's good news, because you definitely want to. That's one of the driving forces behind labor movement in general, in my opinion, is that ability to come in. If you come in early, then you get to stay however long you choose to stay, barring any improprieties in the workplace, of course.
Yeah, well, and George, one of the things, especially for federal employees, our wages and things like that are set by Congress, and so we don't do. There's a lot of the bargaining that private sector unions do that we don't do, even though there's lots of stuff at the local level that is still very important that your local and that my local does. But as far as the wages and stuff, it's important to have these national organizations that are run by and for workers, so that, like you said, we have that annual legislative convention that sometimes overlaps with IFPTE, and we have worker lobbyists. I have lobbied Alabama's congressional delegation on workers' rights in the federal workforce, and we fought. One of Trump's budgets would have cut federal worker pay. It would have cut our leave. It would have cut our health care. It would have made it easier to get rid of us and stuff like that. And we went up there and we fought that budget that he put out there, no doubt with y'all. And we were able to not only fight off pay cuts, we got a pay raise, and things like that wouldn't be able to happen if we didn't have these concerted efforts by and for workers from across the nation. I think stuff like
would
that's real
offer
important.
that most of what we do in D.C. I would refer to as advocacy, and NASA's projects, perhaps like Corps of Engineers, are rather long-term, years to decades, and so we kind of have to go down the middle of the road. And so we go talk to our Democratic and our Republican representatives, and we basically talk about the things that we agree on, and we kind of go light on the things that we disagree on. As you mentioned, Jacob, federal unions are a bit of a strange bunch in that we cannot strike and that we cannot bargain over wages. And so I like to say that leaves us with a couple of tools, and that's good ideas and shame, and we use each appropriately.
Right. George, it's been really great talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time to give us a call. It really means a lot. Tell folks that let's say that we've got some people that are listening that work at NASA, or they know somebody that works at NASA. How do they join your union?
There is a form to fill out. Imagine that, a government form.
I think we've all got forms we have to fill out.
So I think the short version is that they could contact me, 256-348-5181, or is probably the best way.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I would look forward to talking to them.
If people are out there driving in the car and don't jot that down, they can always message us at the show, and we can put them in touch with you as well. So don't have a wreck trying to write that number down.
Right. Yeah,
So.
you can
Certainly not.
DM the page, and we'll get his number to you. So, George, thanks so much for calling. We're gonna let you go. So, folks, if you work at NASA, make sure you get in touch with George. If you didn't get that number, shoot us a message and we'll get it to you. He is the president for the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers at the Marshall Space Flight Center. George Hamilton.
And on the phone, we've got Brother Jonathan Cruz down south, one of my fellow comrades in Dothan. I don't know what exactly they got. Somewhere down south, around Dothan, Fort Rucker area. How are you doing this morning, Jonathan?
Good. How you guys doing this morning?
Oh, we're living the dream.
Living the dream, as always. Glad you called in. What do you got going on down there at Fort Rucker this morning?
A lot of same old, same old. Like I said, I appreciate y'all taking my call and want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving Day weekend.
Yes.
And I'm sure, like most unionists in the area, I've been reading all the national news about the Amazon workers in the Bessemer area and their attempts to organize with the retail workers union, retail, wholesale, and department store workers.
Yep.
So that's probably the biggest organizing drive that we got going in Alabama right now, and it's
I think it's
obviously
probably
gained national news because it is Amazon.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest organizing drive in America right now. We've been in touch with the organizer down there, and we're going to do some reporting live on the day of the election. But you would not believe how many people are following that drive right now, and I think how like you said, how important it is. Not just in the state, but nationwide. That I think it's wonderful. I think now for us to be able to possibly organize the first Amazon workers in the nation would be a good feather in Alabama labor's hat.
I would absolutely love it. And like David said, we've been in contact with the organizers. They're working. The other, so I got an email from the president of that local at like 3 a.m. He replied to me, and he was like, "You can tell we're working
They're
late."
working, yeah.
So they're working hard. Currently, we've had a lot of people from across the nation ask how we can help, and they have not solicited any help from outside right now. They're wanting to kind of keep it local. Kind of avoid maybe some to a certain extent the spotlight's inevitable, but I think they want to be able to kind of get up close and personal.
Yeah.
But
they want to control the narrative.
They want to control the narrative, and certainly I have let him know multiple times anything at all that we can do from the Valley Labor Report, from the Labor Council up here, unions statewide, where all they got to do is snap their fingers, and we'll come there with bell sign.
No doubt, yeah. That was kind of my main reason for calling in today. I know I could reach a lot of trade unionists by talking about this on the air, and just to encourage everybody. If you're praying kind of folks, pray for them.
Yes.
If you're not, wish them well wishes, or try to help out however you can. And I know right now with the virus and everything, it's hard to actually put boots on the ground, but just emotional support, whatever they need, because this is huge for workers in the state of Alabama.
It would. The bargaining unit would be 1,500 employees. This is the first drive at an Amazon facility since 2014, since the machinists messed it up.
Watch it, but we have been known for messing up a few in the past. I botched one a few years ago, so you do what you can do.
Yeah, it's Amazon. You're going up against literally one of the most powerful corporations in the world. And I saw that Amazon has just retained a former Republican member of the National Labor Relations Board for their union busting nonsense that they're going to try to pull. And so these workers down there, they are going to be, Amazon is going to throw the kitchen sink at them. And there are folks that will, and like there are folks, I told somebody about this, and they were like, well, why do they need a union? And like, why wouldn't you? Have you read literally anything about what happens at Amazon facilities? I mean, these places have 3 times higher than the national average injury rates than similar warehouses. I mean, they have to pee in water bottles because their breaks are so sparse. They recently cut the hazard pay program, and since then, Amazon has made $6.3 billion in profits. They have this Big Brother type anti-union surveillance. I mean, this is like a dystopia. It's like they live in a dictatorial regime. These folks need a union, and Amazon is going to be doing everything that they can to fight them on it. And so, like you said, Brother Jonathan, if you're praying, folks, pray for these workers. They're certainly going to be in my thoughts.
Yeah. Right. If anybody needs a union, it's these folks here in Bessemer at the Amazon warehouse. It's well past time. I mean, this needed to come 5 years ago, but I mean, I'm just glad that it's happening now, and I hope it goes through.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and you deal with a lot of the same thing that I do up here on a daily basis, where you have a lot of, across the entire state, we've got a lot of right-leaning, libertarian-minded types in the state, and they're constantly, we hear it on this radio so consistently bashing unions, but it's like you have to make a choice at some point. These folks at Amazon warehouses, these folks at Walmart, their Dollar General, the Dollar Trees, they are getting paid so low. They have no health care. They're a drain on, and I'm not saying anything bad. This is not meant to be negative towards those workers, because everybody has to work somewhere. But they are a drain on SNAP programs. They're a drain on Medicare programs. The government subsidies are basically subsidizing these companies. Now, they look at it and say, all of these lazy workers, and they're all working 40 hours a week. Don't tell me they're lazy. Anybody that's worked in that type of environment, you'd be insane to call them lazy. But the fact is, without unions, either they're going to get their benefits through the government, or we're going to raise the wages for them to where they get off of those benefits. So, not the far right, but even the moderate right-leaning Republicans and Libertarians need to come to an understanding that either we're going to do it through forcing these workers to pay fair wages and benefits, or you're going to continue subsidizing them, and which is more efficient. For certain, we know the government's not efficient when it comes to anything, but certainly on these subsidies and things like that. So, when you start making these claims that, why do they need a union? Why do they want better wages? Hey, it's your money. It's our taxpayer dollars. You want to keep paying them? Because at the end of the day, Jeff Bezos is getting rich by paying his workers slave wages, and we are subsidizing his profits. And I just read last week that Walmart, I can't remember the percentage, was like 80% of the people at Walmart worked a full-time job, yet most of them are on SNAP benefits, and Walmart has actually captured 18% of those SNAP. They control 18% of those benefits getting spent at Walmart. So not only are we subsidizing their low-wage workers, they're reaping the rewards of those low-wage workers coming back to work for them and capturing those benefits.
And another thing, you mentioned folks are like, oh well, they don't need a union, whatever. Why do they? But another thing that I've heard is that, well, if they want a better job, why don't they just get a different job? And it's like, what kind of bootlicking nonsense is that? You're supposed to be a conservative, anti-authoritarian, give me liberty or give me death kind of thing, and your advice to somebody that wants better wages and working conditions is to walk out with their tails between their legs, whimpering and simpering to the next guy? Like, screw that. Fight. Stay there and fight.
Yeah. Yeah, what about the next worker who's going to come in behind them to take that job when they leave? They're
exactly.
Going to be in the exact same scenario.
I mean, just for so many reasons, it's bootlicking, it's whimpering, and it just shows like a fundamental lack of care and empathy for anybody other than themselves.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, and then I'll let y'all get on to the next caller. But for any of the Amazon workers who may be listening out there, I just want them to know that there's people out here in their local community who support them in this organizing drive. There's going to be a lot of people who come out against it. Probably the governor will write them letters to their house saying, please don't do this. It's bad for Alabama.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
Yeah.
They need to come together, work together, and support each other. And there are people in their local communities and further out in the state of Alabama who support their efforts in this.
Yeah. Thanks so much for calling in,
Thanks,
Brother Cruz. It's certainly appreciated, and we appreciate you listening
Hey.
as well.
Thank y'all for everything y'all do. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So the next caller we have on the line is Tahira, right?
Yes,
Tahira is on the line. She is the, I'm not sure what her title is, but she runs the Huntsville Bail Fund, and she was wanting to talk to us about that. So Tahira, what do you have an official title with the Huntsville Bail Fund? And then tell us about what y'all are doing.
And we got, just so you know, we got around 4 minutes before the top of the hour break. So
if you
hear the music coming in and you've got more to say, then we'll come right back to you after the break.
All right. Thanks for having me on. This is Tahira. I am now the president of Huntsville Bail Fund.
Awesome.
Fancy.
And Huntsville Bail Fund is a fledgling organization. We provide cash bail assistance and certain reentry services to people detained pretrial in Madison County. And we are also announcing our big holiday bail action, Hello for the Holidays, which is designed to get people back with their families for the holiday season, but also address some of these major concerns we have at Madison County Jail as it regards people having their labor exploited and then being left in this really unsanitary system.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's hard to believe anybody's labor would be exploited in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
Tell us about what's going on there.
So first off, most people who are detained at Madison County Jail who have worker duties are not paid. These are entirely sort of volunteer positions. They may earn good time. They may earn certain privileges, but they are not getting paid. So really, I mean, this is fully extracting their labor with no profit participation at all. And then you're also getting into the conditions that people are just living under. I mean, we're getting reports of some pretty concerning sanitary conditions.
Yeah, I can imagine right now.
I'm sorry?
I said I can imagine right now with the COVID and everything else.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, Madison County Jail and the jail system in Alabama in general is just so non-transparent. You know, we're learning things as we are doing our bail work because we're actually able to interact with people face to face. And that's really the only way their stories are getting out.
Right. And now, you know, something I want to underscore for the audience is what y'all are doing is people that are being put in the jails, awaiting their trial, they are still innocent because they have not been proven guilty. These people are innocent. And the bail system, what it does is if you have the money, you can wait outside of the prison system before your trial. If you don't have the money, if you're poor, you have to stay inside of the bail system because you don't have the money. You are locking
inside of the bail system is a nice way
inside
of
the
saying
prison
you're
system
in jail.
You're in jail. That's what I meant to say. And we're coming up on the holidays. Right, and you know, we've only got about a minute left before the break, so I'm gonna talk for a little bit more, and then we're just gonna bring you on the other side of the break to hear us. So thanks for calling in. But like I mentioned when we were talking to Swift, 80% of the people who have died in Texas County jails were awaiting their trial. They are innocent, and so what Tahira and the Huntsville Bail Fund is trying to do for the holidays is they are holding a fundraiser to pay for bail for innocent people so that they can be with their families during the holidays. I think that this is a very important thing. I think that we should support it. So she's going to talk to us a little bit more on the other side of the break about that and about where to go if you want to help innocent people see their families over the holidays. So stay tuned. This is the Valley Labor Report.
You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison. This is News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. News starts now.
As COVID-19 cases continue to surge nationwide, more cities are taking action to try and slow the spread. Los Angeles is banning almost all public gatherings. ABC's Christine Sloan with some of the biggest concerns.
Nationwide, more than 264,000 people succumbing to the virus, leaving empty chairs at dinner tables this Thanksgiving, and fears of another wave after millions ignored CDC advice and traveled for the holiday weekend. Now those same people heading home, experts warning this could cause a surge on top of the surge already underway.
This is what's usually known as Rivalry Saturday in college football, but the schedule is lighter than usual due to COVID. The game between Ohio State and Illinois is among those canceled or postponed. Pope Francis today creating 13 new Roman Catholic cardinals. Among them is Washington's Archbishop Wilton Gregory. He is the first African-American cardinal. The post-Thanksgiving holiday shopping blitz continues on this Small Business Saturday. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
WVNN.
Charge upon the land, a population burned up, bled dry. The marginalized multiply, and unite to fight. You awaken the world, now they're tearing you apart. The soil you held sacred, now blackened with your blood.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. If you're just tuning in, we had Tahira, who is president of the Huntsville Bail Fund, on the line, and she was doing a little bit to explain how people can help get the people that are possibly waiting for bail home with their families for this holiday. Tahira, welcome back.
Hey, glad to be on. So people can help primarily by going to our website, hsvbailfund.org. Also, HSV Bail Fund on all social media. That'll get you not only our donation materials and our links, but also educate you. We are doing a lot to try to push and understand what is happening with incarceration here locally in Huntsville and how it is affecting our communities here locally in Huntsville. You can help by helping us share that stuff. Tell your unions, tell your churches, tell your clubs, tell your party. The really big thing we read right now is to get our message out there and let people know that the service exists.
Yeah. And if you follow our show regularly, the listeners do, especially on social media, our intro page is the music that opens up every week is by Obed Edom, a local band that actually donates from Bandcamp, donates a portion of those purchases to the Huntsville Bail Fund. So I think it's important to point out a lot of the local folks in the community that have allowed us to use their music, they're doing great work as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we definitely need to be helping. We are the most incarcerated country in the world. You hear people consistently talking about China and Russia as these totalitarian states, yet we have more people in the prison system in America than these other countries, and you have to ask yourself why. Nonviolent offenders spending 20 and 30 years in the prison system, and it's very unfortunate.
And I'll point out, it's not just we have the highest incarceration rate in the world. We have the highest incarceration rate in history.
Yeah.
I mean, in history ever.
I mean, seriously, we have 300 million people in America, and in China they have like 1 billion people or something. And China's supposed to be this dictatorial, authoritarian regime, and I'm not saying they're not, but they have 3 or 4 times more people than we do, and we still have more people in our prison than they do. We have more people languishing in prisons in the United States than the Soviet Union had in the gulags. I mean,
it's insanity.
Like, give me a break. And the people that are like freedom-loving Americans are the one, supposed to be the people that are supposed to be like espousing this rhetoric of I love freedom, I hate authority, I hate the government. They're the ones that are pushing this nonsense, locking up our brothers and sisters for no reason, at all, for smoking a plant. I mean, it's sickening.
You know, half of all Americans have a loved one who's experienced incarceration. I mean, that is half of Americans. So this is not an issue that is relegated to one particular sector of our community or one particular class. I mean, this really is an issue where the community needs to come together in solidarity.
Yep. Right. Yeah, I completely agree, Tahira. So, you know, folks, if you want to donate, help innocent people see their families over the holidays. If you want to help innocent people see their families over the holidays, go to hsvbailfund.org. Is that right, Tahira?
Yes, and I would also like to point out, if you know someone who is incarcerated at Madison County Jail who is being held only because they are poor, because they're too poor to pay their bail, we have a nomination page. Please let us know. We would love to include them.
Okay. Tahira, thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. You're doing God's work.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. So, folks, you are listening to the Alabama AFL-CIO Open Line Saturday on the Valley Labor Report. Give us a call, 1-866-494-9866. The phone lines just opened up. For the first time since the show began, we have had call after call after call. We've had about 5 calls today.
It's been insane.
So, folks, give us a call. Give us something else to talk about. We've run out of callers, run out of stuff to talk about. 1-866-494-9866 is the number.
One thing that I had really no intention of. I had been doing some research on this, and then with all of the callers today talking about the imprisonment and the bail fund and things like that, you know, it's interesting to point out that this administration, when I say the administration, I mean the outgoing administration, has been so, you know, preached law and order for so long. You know, the law and order, and not only law and order, but also we need to keep these rapists and drug cartels and all of these thugs out of America. We need to build the wall and stop them. Have you heard of Salvador Cienfuegos Zepeda?
I have not.
Have you not?
No.
And I wonder why that is, because the media hasn't covered it. But, you know, General Zepeda, the Mexican National Director of Homeland Security, basically the Director of Homeland Security, in 2019, in October, about a year ago, was arrested traveling through Los Angeles and imprisoned on drug charges. Mainly helping facilitate what I read, helping facilitate hundreds of thousands of kilos of heroin and methamphetamine in coordination with the H2 cartel in Mexico. Basically, he was using the military as a pipeline to import all of these drugs into America. He was arrested in October of 2019. Last week, our great administration, under the direction of Barr, released him. No charges, dropped all of the charges, and allowed him to go back. Actually, they didn't allow him to go back. They flew him back to Mexico. You know, this is the term. They're always looking for the big fish. They want to catch these low-level dealers on the streets and get them to flip onto these bigger dealers and work their way up to where they have the big fish. Well, I don't believe the big fish got much bigger than Zepeda, and they let him go. Even I read several articles regarding the DEA was up in arms. Even the judge in Brooklyn said, you know, basically that she did not understand what was going on, but apparently there were, you know, she trusted the government enough to allow him to drop all the charges. So you know, when we're talking about these bail funds and things like that, and the administration of law and order, and they're preaching all of this, build the wall, stop all of these rapists and drug dealers, yet they've got the biggest fish that you could. It was literally the highest level government official ever arrested on drug charges in America, and Barr releases him last week and gives him a plane ticket back to Mexico and says, "Have a good day."
Yeah. Well,
this is your administration of law and order.
Yeah. Well, and Ken Cuccinelli, I believe it was, he was appointed to his position illegally. Like he is not, like the government has ruled that it is illegal for him to be in the position that he is, and yet he's still there. So operating illegally as the DHS acting chief or something like that.
We've got a lot of acting everything.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of acting everything.
Yeah,
for the simple fact that they can't get anything through the Senate, even though it's a Republican-controlled Senate, and we can't get anybody pushed through. Why is that? It's not shocking.
I don't understand.
Because they know most of the appointees have been an absolute abject failure and a joke.
Yeah, but they've been able to put all their crazy judges on.
We got a caller on the line?
Yeah, we got a caller on the line. There was something else that I was wanting to say about the law and order stuff, but it done slipped my mind.
Well, it's a joke.
Yeah,
let's just call it for what
it's
it is.
silly. It's silly. We've got Mark on the line. We were talking. Mark was calling about. We had had a call from. I'm not sure specifically which one, but we've had a couple calls about the prison system here in Alabama. We had Swift Justice call in to talk to us about the prison strike that's going to be happening in Alabama come January. We had Tahira, president of the Huntsville Bail Fund, calling to talk to us about getting innocent families or innocent people to pay their bail to allow them to see their families over the holidays. And so he had a question for us. So Mark, what you got?
Well, I'm just kind of, you guys say that people are innocent. I get that they're innocent until proven guilty.
That's correct. They are innocent.
But there's some people that go into jail that someone arrests that isn't necessarily innocent, in the sense of, if you get a DUI and you're above the legal limit and you're drunk, there's a little bit of guilt there, I think.
Well, there's guilt once it's proven. There's guilt once it's proven.
I mean, we're talking about
you just can't let somebody out. You just can't let somebody out just because it's not necessarily they didn't break a law.
So Mark, here's my problem with that. I don't have a if there are people that are dangerous, that are a threat to society, that you're reckoning that they ought not be let out, then we should just say that you can't get out. We shouldn't have a system where people that are poor where people who are poor, who are arrested for marijuana or something, don't have the ability to pay bail, and they're stuck in the prison system, while rich folks who get arrested for a DUI are able to pay bail and go home and be a threat to society. What we ought to have is a system that has nothing to do with money and has everything to do with justice and safety and rehabilitation. If we want to talk about keeping society safe from people that are threatening to society, then we should evaluate the risk that this person has to society and say whether or not we can afford to let them out of prison based on their risk to society. We should, whether or not they can pay, should have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not they can see their families over the holidays. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. I think that's like, I think I'm like a normal person with that opinion, right?
What do you think as far as the money, when you see certain situations where people in those, they have enough money to get drugs, they have enough money to get certain things, you don't think that just because they're not necessarily managing their money well?
Mark, tell me. Mark,
the point that he's saying, and Jacob bloviates a little bit, but the point that he is making is, if it's a threat to society, then we don't let them out.
Yeah.
If they're not a threat to society, then we let them out until they are able to stand trial and are either convicted or are not convicted. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But this bail, this idea that if you're accused of committing a crime and then you have to come up with $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, there's not a lot of people that can come up with that kind of money to get out of jail while they're waiting trial.
Well, do you think that the monetary thing, setting that up, is to punish the poor people, or is it a situation where it's hopefully to try to deter them from getting themselves in that situation? Like, I'm not rich, but I don't want to go out. I don't go out and drink. I take, get friends to drive me home or to do something like that because I don't have $10,000 to pay for a DUI.
Yeah, well, I don't think most people do, and I don't think most people go out with the idea that they're going to commit a DUI on the weekend.
Well, if you go out and pound a bunch of alcohol, you can't drive. I mean,
yeah,
I see what you guys are saying, but what's the deterrent?
The deterrent is you stay in jail.
The deterrent is the jail time, but the deterrent is not that you get arrested and then you spend 2 or 3 or 4 months waiting on a trial, and if you don't have $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 to pay for it, then you're stuck there. That's not the deterrent. For one thing, it's not fiscally responsible for taxpayers to support someone in jail. If they're not a threat to society, let them out and continue working while they wait for their trial. I mean, this thought that we're just going to keep people locked up indefinitely waiting on a trial, and everybody knows, if you do any research whatsoever, the courts are absolutely backlogged. It's a drain on society. Even even libertarians, even Republicans, if they open their eyes up, can recognize that this is insanity, and it costs us more money in the long run.
But the thing you guys aren't. What's the deterrent? Because what I hear this morning,
the deterrent is the jail time once you are convicted. The deterrent is that we're just going to arrest people and put them in jail and wait 6 months for their trial. That's that.
But if you've listened to your show this morning, it's a situation to where let's make jail like a hotel and let's let them make a bunch of money and do all these things. You guys haven't done anything that's a deterrent. I'd want to go there and stay if I had lived in a bad situation.
Well, I think when you consider make a bunch of money, I don't think making $40 a week
they shouldn't make any money.
A bunch of money. But the point is,
they shouldn't make any money.
In many cases, there's a family that's out there that needs support. There could be, in some cases, where the person that's being locked up has to pay spousal support. If that money's going back into the spousal support to support the kids, and guess what? That takes a drain off of society, because if they're not putting that money back into their spousal support or their child support, then who's going to make up the difference? We are, through taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most fiscal responsible thing that you can do. And it's amazing to me that you have so many people arguing about it. I guess they're jealous that people are getting put in jail and may make $200 a week, a fair $6, $7 an hour wage job. Are you jealous of that?
No, I'm not jealous. But I think if I live a life, I teach my kids. Can y'all let me talk for 1 second? I teach my kids, and I teach people around me. You live a life where you don't do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But if it's a situation, I take care of my kids. I am divorced. I pay child support just like anybody else. I'm not rich, but I keep myself in a situation where I don't do anything that's breaking the law.
Yeah, well, that you know of.
I'm not jealous.
That you know of, because there are laws out there that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's
every day.
Oh, come on! I know. We're sitting here talking about. I don't do drugs. I don't go get DUIs. I don't do anything that breaks it. I mean,
and you've never
if you want to nitpick it to make your story sound better.
You never made a mistake in your life.
I've never done anything that criminally I could go to jail for. No, sir.
That's amazing. I mean, you're one of the very few, because even myself have made mistakes in my life.
There's a bunch of people out there that don't break laws.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't understand. Mark, thanks for your call. I do appreciate it. I appreciate folks with different opinions, but I really struggle to see what it was that we said that was crazy. Like what we've said so far, basically what we've advocated so far on the show today, with respect to the prison criminal legal system, is that one, people, the conditions in the prisons should be sanitary. I think that's reasonable. Another is that they should be compensated for their labor. I don't think that's unreasonable. That people who work should be compensated for their labor. That people who are not a menace to society, who are not a threat to society, should not be held indefinitely before their trial because they are poor, because they can't afford to pay bail, while rich people can get arrested and pay bail just as soon as they go in the prison doors.
Or like we talked just a moment ago with Cepeda. Or
yeah.
they can just get sent back. I mean, we just say, don't worry about it.
I mean, I don't think these are like radical things. I think these are reasonable, fiscally conservative, justice oriented, just normal people. I want society to be good opinions. I've got some more like radical opinions on the criminal legal system, but I don't want to go into them right now. But what we've said today, I don't know. I don't think it was crazy. I feel like it's just normal stuff that we're talking about. We are continuing with our Open Line Saturday. We've got about 8 minutes left. If you want to give us a call, 1-866-494-9866 is the number, 1-866-494-WVNN. We are coming to you commercial-free, courtesy of the Alabama AFL-CIO. We do not have any commercials, save for the top and bottom of the hour news breaks. We generally have we generally have commercials. We have some sponsors that we appreciate. Not running those commercials this week because the Alabama AFL-CIO has sponsored the show today so that we can take more calls. And specifically, hopefully, about unions. So if you've got a question about unions, give us a call, 1-866-494-9866, 1-866-494-9866.
Yeah, we've got about 8 minutes left in the show, so not a whole lot of time left, but we can answer a quick call or two. If you want to get on the line talking about how the people in the prison are doing better than you, it's probably not the best time to call, but it's insane, man. I mean, it's really
I don't know.
It's heartbreaking for me to listen to people call and make these arguments, and it's just like the argument when Brother Cruz was on the line a while ago with the Amazon workers. You have so many people that just hate in the world, and they say, oh, why do you need unions at Amazon? Because they're thugs, they're Democrat supporters, this, that, and the other, and it's like, I don't want anybody on food stamps, but I don't want anybody to make a fair wage to where they don't have to be on food stamps. I don't want to subsidize anybody's health care, but I don't want to force the workers to the employers to pay a living wage to where the employees can have health care. I don't want these people in jail to be sucking up my taxpayer dollars and have cable or have anything, but yet we don't want them to make a fair wage whenever they're in and be able to support families that they may have. It's just it's a constant contradiction. And it goes back to the it goes back to you just don't give a crap about I almost said it.
I know
that you don't give a crap about nobody but you and yours. And this is just, it's really unfortunate to hear my fellow citizens out there make those arguments.
Yeah. Well, David curses like a sailor, so it's amazing that he hadn't got us kicked off the air.
It really is amazing.
But,
I do my best.
but yeah, it really does, like, like I said, I've got some radical opinions about the criminal legal system, but it does genuinely, like, it startles me that we've got that there are people that will argue for the status quo, knowing what we know about the criminal legal system in America, knowing that we have more prisoners locked behind bars than any country in the world right now, than any other dictatorship, authoritarian regime.
We've got more laws in America.
More laws in America.
Look at the Constitution. We've had it on the daggum ballot this past month.
Yeah, the Alabama Constitution.
Let's rewrite the Constitution because we still got racist language. And there's so many laws, and anybody that says I don't break the law is an absolute flat-out lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you reckon?
Knowingly break the law.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you reckon the over-under is that he smoked pot before? I mean,
I'm not going to make a judgment call on something like that. But everybody's sped. Everybody has done something.
Yeah, I mean, but like seriously, In Huntsville, black folks are 11 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white folks. In Huntsville, this is our backyard. And the study after study after study after study has shown white folks...
Well, half the other states in America is legalized or decriminalized it or made medical marijuana. I mean,
we've got people...
We arrest people. I just listened yesterday. We arrest people that just happen to be driving through the state with marijuana and a medical marijuana card, and we put them in jail even though they're recognized by
disabled
other states.
veteran.
Yes,
a disabled veteran from another state who had a prescription for medical marijuana was arrested and tried and convicted and sentenced to 5 to 6 years in the Alabama prison system because of our
offender.
Backwards antiquated nonsense laws on marijuana. A disabled veteran came through here, and he hasn't gotten a pardon from the governor,
and won't.
Or Trump. People talk about him being a criminal justice reformer. He could as he's going out, he could release every single nonviolent drug person who's in prison for nonviolent drug use. He could immediately give them a pardon as he's going out, and he would have done more good in America than almost any other president if he just did that.
The problem is, when you've created all of these privatized prison systems where a corporation owns a prison system and they're making money off the backs of the workers, and in many cases they have written agreements with the states to where the state has to maintain a certain percentage of people in that prison, it's an exploitative system. They are using that, and they're not going to release them because you know why? Because if they get down below the 80% requirement, that the 80% level of,
and they lose funding.
Exactly. Then the state has to start paying the difference, and so there's a incentive for the state to keep people locked up in prison, because guess what? We've already signed a contract that says if we don't maintain 80%, then we've got to make up the difference.
Yeah.
Well, then we're not going to pay it. We're not going to force the taxpayers to pay it. We're going to start putting more people in prison.
Yeah.
And people can say that's conspiratorial, but if you go out and look, that's the absolute fact of what's happening in all of these private prison systems. And and I just heard this past week we've got 3 coming to the state of Alabama. 3 privatized prison systems coming to the state of Alabama. Wonderful.
Folks, we're going to be coming off the air here in a second, so I'll just plug this again as we're going off the air. We really appreciate folks that are listening to the show, folks that have called in today. We've had a lot of calls today, and we do appreciate being able to have these conversations with people that disagree with us on some issues. We appreciate the ability to kind of illuminate some of these issues to allow people to hear a different perspective than they normally hear. And so if you think that what we're doing is valuable, if you think it's interesting, at least you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report. That really helps us to stay on the air. If you want a local Alabama USA union-made hat, DM the page and I will send you the form to fill out. They are $30, very reasonably priced for Alabama USA union-made hats. Very good stuff. So make sure you DM the page for that. If you were a patron of the show before August 22nd, you get a free hat. Make sure you DM the show for that. And with that, I will sign off, folks. This has been the Valley Labor Report. Make sure you follow us on social media, on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.
WVNN Athens, WVNN FM Trinity, a Cumulus station. It's 11 o'clock. News starts now.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Aldinger. This